Today we are adding more full art planeswalkers to the binder than I think I have ever seen in one page. Let's take a look. Welcome back, guys, to the binder update series, the collection update series, where we take a look at 12 new cards that we're adding to our 480 card binder, and we get to share that collection with you guys and hopefully get to hear some of your stories about cards that you have collected over the last week or two. Now, last week we kind of took a little bit of a sidestep, just a break from the binder series, and mostly just because, you know, it gets a little tiring doing the same thing over and over again, and so I wanted to do something different. We actually opened up a pack of Nemesis, which was an absolute blast. We didn't get anything too crazy, but it was a really fun video. If you guys want more of those kinds of videos, just give me a heads up in the comment section below. I would really appreciate it. Now, additionally, over the last couple weeks when we had done the binder update series, we actually were doing things in like a B-roll stance, which is fine, but I kind of didn't... It was a little much. I think we're gonna go back to the normal thing where we just have a nice little top-down view and we get to talk about the cards candidly with you guys. Now, as you guys know, part of this series is collecting along with you guys, and so I wanna make sure we're sharing other people's collections and stories as we are going through this series. I do wanna point out, Absolute Dog commented on the last binder update saying that he actually picked up some of the Streets of New Capenna full art lands, which is pretty awesome. So, Absolute Dog, congratulations, my friend. That is a really nice pickup. If you've picked up any awesome new cards this week, please feel free to share those down below. It would really mean a lot, and it's great to have you guys on this series hanging out with us as we're doing this. Without further ado, we have a ton of cards to get through, some really awesome ones as well. Let's go ahead, let's jump in, and let's see what we got. All right, guys, we are going to go kind of rapid fire through this, and we start off with our first full art planeswalker, which is Grandmaster of Flowers. Again, you're going to see a lot of full art planeswalkers this time around. I think there are like 11, maybe? No, not quite 11. There's like 9 or so, I think, that we're going to be looking at, but the first one is the Grandmaster, an absolutely beautiful card. I really do love this one. This isn't a super playable card in general. I don't feel like it's that crazy good, but again, I kind of got on a binge this week, and so we'll see that theme throughout, but I do really love the Grandmaster. A beautiful, beautiful card. Anytime I see a full art planeswalker in general, I just kind of like to pick them up because I think they're really pretty, and so we'll see a lot more as we go through, but the first one is Grandmaster. Next up, we are jumping into blue, and this is one of our few non-full art planeswalker cards, but it's a really awesome one. It's Cunning Wish. I absolutely love this card. This card is amazing. This is part of the Wish cycle, so we saw this all the way back in Judgment, which was a very long time ago, I think 2002. Instant, this one 2 and a blue. You choose an instant card you own from outside the game, reveal it, put it into your hand, and then remove the Cunning Wish from the current game. This is usually used to pull out something from the sideboard, of course, so normally it might be like a Storm piece or something along those lines. It's just a really classic card, and part of that classic Wish cycle, Burning Wish is another popular one for the Storm decks, and it's just a really special piece in my opinion, so I love picking up the original artwork for this. It's absolutely stunning. Next up, we have got Murktide, as I like to call him. This is an interesting one. So again, not a hugely powerful planeswalker, although I will say in the It Is What It Is series, we did Dogs versus Cats, and this was actually a combo piece in the deck that I played. I was in Dogs, and in tandem with things like Anointed Procession and Historic, you can really do some crazy stuff with this, but in general, again, not a crazy powerful card, but a nice little, you know, blue planeswalker for 6 mana. It's a bit expensive for a lot of formats, but it's just a pretty card, and again, that full art really showing off the amazing artwork there. Absolutely love it. Our next one is Murktide Regent. A lot of blue this time. Murktide Regent is actually a pretty big modern staple right now. The red-blue Murktide deck is a very powerful one. That Delve ability allowing yourself to play it for a lot cheaper because you've got a lot of cards in the graveyard just makes it that much more potent as a huge threat early in the game. It comes into play with a 1/1 counter on it for each instant or sorcery card exiled with it. So if you do delve this out, you're actually getting much more than just a 3/3 with flying. In fact, it can get very crazy, up to an 8/8, which is a little ridiculous, but whenever an instant or sorcery spell leaves your graveyard as well, it gets another 1/1 counter, so you actually get to really progress with this card as you go through. absolutely phenomenal. It's a very powerhouse card. It's actually worth quite a bit for being kind of a more recent addition to the Magic world, and it's just a powerful card. I absolutely love it. Really happy to pick this one up. Moving into black, we have our first Lolth here. Surprisingly, I don't own a Lolth. This was the first one that I picked up, and again, it's a full art. So I went on this binge, guys, where essentially what happened was I picked out one full art Planeswalker at random, and then just like it kept suggesting, TCG player kept suggesting like, hey, pick this one up and pick this one up, and I was like, yeah, okay. And so it basically tail spun into what we're seeing now. But Lolth is actually a really good one in standard right now for obvious reasons. It's a great control card. It does provide you with a little bit of a board presence, but it also gives you the card draw. The ultimate is like okay, it's really not the big deal. The -3 is really good, but then of course being able to draw off of it is really important. Works great for a lot of the control decks that we're seeing right now, especially the like Blood on the Snow decks. And so it's a good pickup. It's definitely one of the better Planeswalkers in my opinion. And again, just a beautiful, beautiful card. Our next one in red, Zariel. This is one that doesn't really see a ton of play, though I did see it in Symphonier Gaming. He did play a Naya deck that utilized one of Zariel, which was really cool, because again, I think Zariel is actually quite good. The 0 ability, being able to throw a little 1/1 out there that can trade up, or deal with opposing planeswalkers. It deals 1 damage to any target, and so if they happen to drop like a Lolth, as a prime example, and -3, and then for whatever reason your 1/1 dies, you can just nuke it for 1 and it's gone. And so there's a lot of potential out of Zariel that I feel like is unrealized potential. Also really helps in the aggro-y matchups with that +1. Giving all your creatures +1/+0, and then of course giving them haste is really good because you can get a lot of damage in very quickly. Works as a great finisher for the go wide strategies, things like that. So I have a deck in mind for this card actually, which I'm really excited to try out, but we'll see how that goes later on. I just think this is a really cool card. Next up, in green, we have got Ellywick, a nice little 4-mana planeswalker here. It really works off of the venture mechanic with that +1, so being able to go into the dungeon, get a lot of extra value, which is really helpful. It's an interesting card. It's not one that I've seen a lot of play with, and I don't really know the best place that, you know, she fits in, but truthfully, the reason I love this card is because that beautiful, beautiful artwork by Steve Prescott, I believe, is just beautiful artwork. The stunning color and the like little butterfly sprite that we've got here, this little toad, just a stunning, stunning card. A really beautiful one. Again, not necessarily super valuable. It's just a cool looking card and a beautiful one, and one that I'm happy to have in the binder for sure. Another green card here, Life from the Loam. Now, this is a classic Dredge card. If you guys don't know Dredge, it's one of the most rough mechanics, we'll say. Overpowered mechanics, for sure. It definitely is a bit of a broken one. We've seen it played in a lot of the Eternal formats, so Modern in particular, but of course things like Legacy and Vintage as well. And Life from the Loam is actually a pretty big piece in a lot of those decks. Returning lands from your graveyard to your hand is actually very relevant, but importantly, the Dredge 3 is where that really comes into its own, and so you're able to do quite a bit with it. And again, it's been banned in a lot of cases, the deck in particular, not Life from the Loam, because it's so overpowered. But I really do like the card, and surprisingly, while I do have a couple of printings of this, I don't have the original printing, and so I thought it'd be really nice to pick one up. Really glad I did. That beautiful Teresa Nielsen art is just absolutely stunning, and again, really, really happy with having a Dredger in the collection. Moving on to multicolor, guys, we got Dakkon, Shadow Slayer. This is a 3-mana planeswalker, one that I kind of want to try building around a little bit. Obviously, it's more of a modern card. I don't think it's very good in general, but it does scale up, and it provides you a reanimator option for artifacts in particular, which I think is really cool. It also just kind of gives you that opportunity to drop them from your hand, but it does a pretty good job of protecting itself, especially late game. If you drop this after turn 3, when you have presumably more than 3 lands, you can -3 to exile a creature. Exiling in particular is very potent in really any format, but in particular in Modern, because there are a lot of ways to recur value, of course. And so exiling is a really key piece to that, that hopefully gets around some of it. I really like the card. Again, it's the artwork that really stands out to me. Most of these full art Planeswalkers are mostly about the artwork for me, and Dakkon is no exception. An absolutely beautiful card in my opinion. Really, really love it, and just so freaking cool looking. I mean, look at that card. It's stunning. Moving on to our next one, we have got Geyadrone Dihada. I hope I'm saying that correctly. I'm not really sure. A nice little Grixis Planeswalker. It has protection for permanents with corruption counters on it. And then, so the +1, each opponent loses 2 life, you gain 2 life. Put a corruption counter on up to 1 other target creature or Planeswalker. So this in turn basically provides a little bit of a protection to itself, which is really, really cool. You can also gain control of a creature or Planeswalker until the end of the turn, untap it, put a corruption counter on it, and it gains haste. So again, it's sort of like a very clear leveling up between the loyalty abilities, where you get a corruption counter on something, but you can also then, you know, get in for a very solid attack, or, you know, steal a Planeswalker and get a lot of extra value. So it's a really interesting one. It's a thematic card with those corruption counters. And then again, of course, the artwork. I mean, come on. It's absolutely stunning. Moving on to our next one, we have got Grist, the Hunger Tide. This is actually the card that spurred this whole full art Planeswalker, because I really wanted to try this in Jund. Now, normally Jund really does a great job with things like Wrenn and 6, in Modern in particular, because it's a very cheap Planeswalker. It gives you a lot of recursive value, and I really like that. I thought I would try a one of Grist in the deck, though, just to see how it goes. Again, the artwork here is stunning, but I actually think Grist has a little bit more value than some playable value than some of the other Planeswalkers we picked up, because it's a relatively cheap Planeswalker with some very unique abilities and very good abilities. And so I'm actually really stoked to try this one out. Again, just a beautiful card as well. Really, really love it. And then finally, I believe our last one is Kaya, Geist Hunter. Again, just a full art Planeswalker that got tagged along with all this, but I really like it. She's a beautiful card in my opinion too. Those beautiful purples coming out of the like energy daggers that she carries. And I mean, truthfully, this like background slice effect that's going on here is just absolutely stunning. Obviously Kaya, again, a 3-mana 3 loyalty Planeswalker. That's exactly where you want to be for a lot of formats right now. And so there is playability here, but it's just a really cool card. So many full art Planeswalkers, guys. We got so many this week. It was absolutely awesome. Again, I think 9 in total, which is kind of crazy. But all that to say, I'm really happy to have Kaya in here, as well as a lot of the other cards. I think this is a really interesting page for the binder. Really excited to go through it at the end of all this to see kind of what all we landed on. But that's going to wrap up today's binder update, guys. Let's talk about it. All right, guys, so like I said, a lot of full art Planeswalkers in today's binder update. We will, of course, give you the graphics for the total value of the binder, the completion aspect of the binder, so you guys can keep track of where we are at. We're getting much further into it at this point. We are really, really doing pretty well. The value is also there, which is pretty awesome too. So I really hope you guys enjoyed this one. Again, if you have collected or picked up any awesome new cards in the recent, just last couple weeks, share them with me. I would love to hear what you guys are picking up, why you're picking those cards up, because I think collecting is something that we can all share and enjoy together. I know paper magic is, some people tend to be shying away from it, and that's okay. But if you are still picking up, I'd love to have you guys share that. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. I hope you guys enjoyed this one. If you did, leave a like, leave a comment. I love you guys very much. I'll see you again in the next binder update.